In the Northeast, the rain is exiting or has exited. Stage right. In the Southeast, we still have some heavy rain and patches of severe weather, and that's going to exit too. Stage right. And up in stage left, we have beautiful springtime sunshine to the west. Are we going to get into some of that? And is it going to get cold? Well, the answer to those questions and so many more are waiting for you tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which, of course, you can support if you'd like. Just shop on Amazon using our referral link, because when you do, Amazon throws us back a little bit of coin for sending you there, and it doesn't cost you one dime. It's an easy, quick way to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And of course, it keeps the show ad free, except for that little thing I just did here at the beginning. So, um, I had about maybe just under 3 inches of rain since yesterday. But on the north side of town, they had about 6 inches of rain, and the rivers were flooded, and the creeks had flooded over, and some of the roads were flooded up. But that's all done here, and we've cooled down to 54, which is nice. And by you,
0.15 inches of rain in the last 24 hours, and we had, well, right now it's about 39 degrees. Our high was at midnight. It was around 48 then. So
so you had a very, how shall we
a
say,
G and D
raw,
day,
it was a
a gloom
raw
and doom
gloom and
day.
doom,
Yep.
and that was your day. But now the cold air's coming in.
Yes. I'm not even sure when the growing season is supposed to begin. I was kind of, I guess it hasn't begun yet because I haven't seen any
Frost and freeze
watches,
warnings.
advisories for freeze
I
or
think
whatever.
April, for some reason, for some reason, April 15th sticks in my head.
Well, maybe
Other than it's tax day, but um, for some reason, I'm thinking April 15th.
could be, could be. I think it's still just a tad too early for anybody to decide to, start putting things in the ground. Case in point, what we're about to see over the next 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, now here the growing season has begun, and they have all sorts of you know, advisories and warnings up for the next couple of nights because it is going to get cold here, probably get down to at least 30. So that's actually, I'm kind of looking forward to it because we've had some really warm days, but we've also had very warm nights the last couple of nights where it didn't get under 60. And that's usually how it is here in July and August. So it's a little bit too soon for me. I have the heat turned off and I actually have my AC on. It's not running now, but on the days we got up to 87 the other day. It certainly was working a bit, but at least there's still some leftover rain and some severe weather, pockets of severe weather in the southeastern U.S. But once that's gone, I mean, it looks to me that uh, much, if not all of the rest of, pretty much all of the rest of the work week, areas that have been just pounded by severe weather the last 5 or 6 days are going to get a well-deserved break, and they need it because the cleanup is extremely extensive.
It is. It's been just absolutely horrible in some spots in the Tennessee and Mississippi River Valley. They've had tremendous amounts of rain and all kinds of destruction of homes, and it's just been bad. You're absolutely right. They do need a break
Yeah,
after not just one or two, but like several consecutive days of just pounding, so to speak.
yeah, and then the next system of importance for, I guess, the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states is probably, it's actually several systems that look like could be in play beginning Thursday and then going through the weekend. Hard to say yet whether it's going to be two or is it going to be a third one on Sunday. but it does look a bit unsettled for that particular period.
Well, what we're watching for the moment in the immediate future is a sharp cold front that probably will be arriving and crossing through the tri state area probably sometime around 7 or 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And once that moves on by, the winds, oh, guess what? Well, for a change, the winds are going to start revving up and they'll be coming out of a west northwest direction. Sustained speeds 10, 15, 20 miles an hour with some occasional gusts of 35, 40, maybe even 45 miles an hour. At least, let's say one thing. There are no wind advisories or high wind watches in effect, thank goodness. But to be outside tomorrow, with the winds gusting to 40 and the temperatures barely making it to, let's say, 40 degrees, the chill factor is going to be crazy. It's going to feel like February or January tomorrow.
Yeah, and if you do the math, uh, I always like to see if you see. I always like to seasonally adjust air masses like this. And if you do the math, we're going to be, say, 15 degrees below normal. And so if you want to translate that, if this air mass were in January, you're talking about highs probably having a tough time getting out of the teens or low 20s, and nighttime lows down in the single digits.
Right.
That's how out of whack it
Oh,
is.
I mean, we're talking about, a high temperature tomorrow, again, near 40, and with the winds, blowing and gusting as high as, let's say, 40 miles an hour. That's going to mean a real field temperature. If you get to 40 tomorrow, it's going to feel more like 30 or in the upper 20s to near 30. And Joe, my sister won a pair of tickets to tomorrow night's Met game at Citi Field, and she said I would give them to you, but tomorrow's the day when I have my grandson over, and it's always a tough time, keeping up with him, the two of us, Renata and I. And she says, I know you're often like worn out by the end of the day. I said, yeah, but I tell you what, Lisa, if we didn't have to watch our grandson tomorrow, I still wouldn't take the tickets. Who, Joe, would subject themselves to go to a baseball game tomorrow night at 7 o'clock with a game time temperature of about 35, a wind roaring at between 20 and 30 miles an hour, a chill factor probably in the 20s? You'd be crazy. I'm a Met
Oh
fan, and
yeah.
I'm not trying to knock the attendance down, but who would do something like that?
Well,
Who would go and sit there
they used
to
to
watch that?
cancel games because it was too cold. Do they still do that?
It's Joe. It's nothing is
I mean,
logical anymore.
I know they wait till they get at least the parking lots half filled before they do that, so they can keep all the money.
Well, it's not so much a fact. I mean, you think about in terms of rainy weather. That's when they. But this is something completely different. This is cold weather. This is absolutely cold, and you think it's tough for the fans. So probably also going to be tough for the players. But then again, the ball players are making anywhere between what, $1 and $5 million. Some ball players are making like 10 or
Hmm.
$20 million. Let them suffer for a night.
Yeah, right. Well, we've got some tip jar hits early tonight, starting with Ken Musillo hitting Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Ken. And Steve Lapointe also hitting the tip jar. Thank you, Steve. And thank you for the compliment. The best weatherman with over 100 years together. Well, it's not yet quite at 100, but it's going to be there in a couple of years. So I think we're at like 94 or something, something like that. And also, Joe, Quiet John generously hits the tip jar tonight. So a big thank you to Quiet John.
Thank you, Quiet John.
Yes. And welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight. The regulars are all here. I guess sometimes I feel like Romper Room holding the magic mirror, you know? I see Jason and Chuck and Dennis and Izzy and Bobby and Paul and Latex. So welcome tonight, and welcome to those of you who are not on the chat board but hidden away somewhere there in TV land, here on the Joe and Joe, well, I should say podcast land, for the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which of course is here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday if there are some storms around. And if we add extra shows, we'll let you know. Notifications, turn them on so you don't miss us. And there is the like button. So if you'd like, and you like, hit the like button and make us happy. So, why don't we get started and take a look at the watches and warnings that are up across the country? And you can see here in the Northeast, we've got winter weather advisories for half of Maine and for a couple of counties in north central New York. And there are actually some wind advisories, but much of the state of Massachusetts, and then a handful of counties along I-90 in New York are under a wind advisory. Everybody else, no, but you know what? It's not that far away from criteria. We also have uh, where the growing season has begun in Missouri, northeast Kansas, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, into Kentucky, and also those freeze and frost and freeze advisories are overlaid, or in some areas over flood advisories as river levels are rising and peaking. And you can see that in the light green. And in the uh, south, we still have some flood watches up in parts of Georgia. We still have a few counties left in a tornado watch in southeast Georgia into parts of South Carolina near the Georgia state line, and a severe thunderstorm watch further north in South Carolina, extending into coastal North Carolina. So, still waiting for the front to move off the southeast coast, which it hasn't done yet. And when we check out the satellite loop tonight, not a lot of lightning strikes going on. I mean, there are a few, but there's we're not seeing lines of storms like we did just a couple of days ago back in the lower Mississippi Valley and the lower Ohio Valley. It's a bit more tame. But notice the cloud line is still north and west, starting to get that push. And there's this upper trough, and it's fairly well defined over the Great Lakes that's dropping southeast and east. And that is going to be the push to get all of this offshore and done. It's gorgeous in the plains today. It's nice and sunny from North Dakota all the way down to Texas. We do have some moisture coming into the west. You can see clouds that have rolled into the western states as we've got a bit of Pacific energy there. And as we check out the radar tonight, um, kind of interesting. Look at that swirl there in over eastern portions of Lake Huron. That's a fairly tight little surface low, but it is also a fairly strong little shortwave there that is moving along and producing some snow as you get on the Canada side, and maybe a bit of a mix in parts of western New York, western Pennsylvania, and northeast Ohio.
You know, I saw earlier that they were getting some pretty good snow in Toronto, obviously
Yes.
associated with that sharp cold front. And, the front's going to go by, and there may very well be something akin to lake effect downstream from the gusty, strong winds will be blowing during the day tomorrow. It's really an unusual late season breakout of cold air that's going to be invading much of the Northeast. So um, I know what about a week or so ago we had temperatures in the 80s, nighttime lows were in the 50s and 60s. Up here, well, I hope you enjoyed it because it's going to be a long, long time before. As we said last night. For those of you who were not on last night with us, I pointed out that you know December, January, and February, 3 consecutive months where we had below normal temperatures here in the New York metropolitan area. Then all of a sudden, March, we warmed up. We had temperatures that were 4.5 degrees above normal, and I'm sure a lot of people were saying, here we go. The say goodbye to the cold air. Now we're in for a stretch of above normal as we move into the rest of the spring and the summer. But then April, as we see it, looks like it's going to be, for the most part, below normal. So that would make 4 out of the last 5 months below normal, which I can't even remember when we did that. And Joe, you pointed out that based upon some of the really long range uh, maps from the European generated that the European doing something rather unusual and suggesting that we may have below normal temperatures perhaps right on through May and even into the start of the summer.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if that holds. It's because the European usually likes to go above normal a lot, especially the further out you go in the long range. So, the fact that it's showing below normal is a bit of an eye opener, but we'll see. Meanwhile, there is still some rain in the southern parts of the Delmarva Peninsula, the southern half of Virginia. Good news is that we're seeing some heavier rains into western North Carolina. Of course, a lot of these areas have been dealing with wildfires over the last couple of weeks. So this should really kind of soak it down once and for all, whatever's left. And just about the whole state, except right near the coast at the moment, not showing any rain there, but the whole rest of the state is. And the same for South Carolina, where we're seeing some areas of heavy rain moving through the state and still lingering in southern and southeastern Georgia. And you can see there's a severe thunderstorm warning and there's a little tornado warning that has just been issued for a county in southeast Georgia. But it's just the two, unlike the other day when we had 50 of them going on at the same time. Uh, Sammy Presley hitting the tip jar tonight, and Izzy D hitting the tip jar tonight. Thank you both for doing that. Most appreciated as always. There's rain also down into parts of the Florida Panhandle, and again, all of this is going to be shifting to the east. And then you got to go clear across past the Rockies to get into some rain that is going on in the Pacific Northwest with some mountain snows as you work your way inland. The Storm Prediction Center tonight, we still have, you see that little red box that we showed you in South Carolina? That is still lingering there, a lingering tornado watch. And we have a severe thunderstorm watch for areas further north in coastal South Carolina and then going up into North Carolina. That's all part of what's left of a slight risk. And over the next couple of days, you can see it here. It's still fairly narrow. And SPC updates these day one maps pretty frequently during the day as they whittle down as the systems, as everything starts to shift to the east. They whittle down the area of severe weather risk. And there's no severe weather risk for the next 2 days, Tuesday into Wednesday and Wednesday into Thursday. And there's nothing at the moment in the long range, which we like. And there's still a marginal risk for flash flooding tonight from southern Virginia down in the Florida Panhandle. Once the rain finally plays through, it should be done. And I lost my 7-day rainfall forecast map, so let's see if I can find it. And there it is. So here we go. We're seeing WPC. This will be for the stuff at the end of the week and into the weekend, where they've got an area of an inch and a half across much of eastern Pennsylvania, the Hudson Valley, and southern New England, also in parts of Maine and New Hampshire. And some of what you see in Virginia and North Carolina includes tonight's. So they've got a ways to go with that. We'll probably split it 50-50 for half of it for tonight. So let's say half to three quarters of an inch. And then at the end of the week and into the weekend, another half to three quarters of an inch. Not much, though, when you get in the plains, throughout the central and southern plains, the Gulf states, not that much. And then extending back over to the west and into the southwest, it's bone dry. A few inches being indicated of liquid up in the Pacific Northwest. So we are going to be looking ahead. Let's switch first. Let me go to the European first and take a look. I'm looking at this map for the first time tonight. And here's our front. Still got one little wave that's got to play through, but by 1 a.m. there's still precip offshore, but not that far away, and it actually bulges back a little bit tonight into southern New Jersey. But then ultimately it goes because that Lake Huron low just kind of kicks it away. You get the cold, dry air in the east. It's not that cool as you go west of the Mississippi River. So most of this cool air is actually up and down the eastern seaboard. See precip that comes into the west just kind of gets left there in the mountains. And there's a little disturbance on Wednesday in the lower lakes that pushes eastward. And also a diving low going into Illinois, and then eventually it finds its way into the Appalachians. The models have been very consistent with this, Joe. It would indicate, maybe a couple some showers on Thursday, not a lot, nothing to write home about. But then this low organizes a bit and brings some heavier rain coming up on Friday into Friday night, and then it goes into maybe early Saturday, goes up into New England, and then of course you still have the leftover upper low and some of the overnight runs were trying to take this second low and strengthening it and bringing it right up the coast. These later runs today are further east. It brings that second low to eastern New England for Sunday. That might mean still some cloud issues around, but if you believe the models today, it would suggest that there might be some improvement for the second half of the weekend. Nothing to, nothing you jump up and down and cheer about, but some improvement, perhaps.
The European seems to be, not exactly on the same page with the GFS. It indeed is showing some wet weather for Friday, but nothing really overly heavy. They have some spotty, uh, localized areas where the rain may come down heavy for a short while. Let's say Friday night or whatever. The actual low pressure system is expected to take a path pretty well offshore, and in fact, much of the precip may be to our east.
You're talking about the
Later
second.
in
You're talking about the second one.
yeah, the second
Second
low,
one.
but the first really doesn't look all that dynamic, at least on the European. I mean,
No,
yes,
the
it's
GFS has
be
got
cloudy. It's going to be
the GFS is a bit more wrapped up with it.
yeah.
It's got more of a wrapped up low that comes up the east side of the Appalachians. I mean, you basically take a low from central North Carolina to central Pennsylvania and then up into upstate New York. So it's like a giant arm and giant occlusion. The other thing I would point out too with all of this too is, uh, as I said earlier, with respect to severe weather, there really isn't much of anything to worry about this week in the anywhere east of the Rockies. It's just not a setup for severe weather. Now, longer term, it might change a bit, but we may have to get past the middle of the month before we start maybe dealing with things that could be severe weather threats. But I'm not seeing anything here in the long range that would suggest a repeat of what just happened with 4 days of virtually a stationary frontal boundary and almost continuous severe thunderstorm activity in areas like the Mississippi River Valley, the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley. It's a much calmer stretch for the next, at least they would say the next week or 10 days.
And New York City weather historian, or person who looks a lot at the archives, really more closely than I think anybody else does, Rob Friedowitz points out that today, April the 7th, is an unusual study in contrast at Central Park. Not only is April 7th the latest date for a sub-freezing high temperature. In 1982, the high temperature today was 30 degrees, and that was the day after the April blizzard in 1982. That's what I think is even more remarkable than the blizzard itself in 82 was the stretch of unseasonably cold weather that followed, not just for a day or so, but I mean for several days on end. It was cold, it was blustery, and on this day in 1982, 30 degrees. That was the high temperature, and that is the latest date for a sub-freezing high temperature. So if you think tomorrow is cold, it'll feel cold because of the wind, but the actual ambient air temperature on this day in 1982 was 30 degrees.
Well,
But
that was after
also,
that was it. That was it? It was after the snowstorm, right?
correct, that the day after the blizzard, the April blizzard. And I just said, I think what's more remarkable than the blizzard itself, usually if you get a snowstorm in April, if you get snow, and then like the next day or the next couple of days, it warms back up into the 50s and 60s or 40s and everything is gone. But that was not the case. In 1982, 9 or 10 inches of snow in New York City. It was supposed to be opening day at Yankee Stadium. That was a Tuesday. They did not play at Yankee Stadium. They did not open the season at Yankee Stadium until Sunday, the following Sunday, which also, by the way, was Easter Sunday. And they were pushed into playing a doubleheader. The first time I could ever remember having opening day, a doubleheader on opening day. But in any case, it took that long for the weather to warm up and to get rid of all the snow that had fallen. They didn't get any help from Mother Nature in the aftermath of that big snow in 1982. But this day, April the 7th, is also the earliest date for a high in the 90s. In 2010, on this day, the temperature at Central Park hit 92 degrees, the earliest 90-degree temperature in the record books at Central Park on this day in 2010, 92 degrees. So, as Rob Friedowitz points out, an interesting study in contrast. We have the day of the latest sub-freezing high temperature in 1982, and also the earliest date for a high in the 90s in 2010.
And for those of you who would like to be, who might be curious about where I live in Blairsville, Georgia, North Georgia, the high temperature today here was 65, and that was actually at 5 o'clock this morning. And then after that, we've been just sort of steadily kind of creeping, upper 50s, low 60s. We got back to 64.6 at 1:55 this afternoon, and then the temperatures have been sort of easing a bit after that. And right now at the airport it is 51.3. They put the temperatures up here in tenths. So it's 51.3 with a relative humidity of 94%, a north wind at 7 miles an hour, and it's an overcast sky. The airport had, just looking at the rain totals here. Oh, they were taking observations, Joe, during the overnight, like every 5 minutes for some reason. I'm not sure why. Um, you know, and it wasn't in some of these instances even going back through the day yesterday. They were doing, taking obs like every 5 or 10 minutes. Wayne Stuckart hitting super chat tonight. Thank you so much for hitting the tip jar. Always appreciated. So anyway, uh, it's quiet. I didn't have anything other, not much excitement in my life today. It was fairly quiet. Got the dog to the dog park because he didn't go yesterday. So JJ was, I wouldn't say not happy, but you know, he just was he was missing his routine. So I took him this morning, even though it was still raining a little bit, and he's been a happier camper today. And that's it, really. I had leftovers for lunch and dinner, so that was again uh, very non-event type of day.
Somebody asked on the chat board, I'm sorry I didn't write the name down, but they wanted to know what is the latest date of freezing temperature at Central Park. He said probably May, and he's right. On May the 6th, in the year 1891, the low temperature, the minimum low temperature, the record low temperature, 32 degrees. And that is the latest date at Central Park where we had temperatures actually at freezing. I presume that the latest for sub freezing was sometime in late April. I don't have that at hand here, but in any case, that's certainly interesting.
Well, here I can tell you from the last couple of years that we've gotten down below freezing in mid-May. So depending on the setup, so we usually, we don't put any annuals down until at least Mother's Day, if not after a week or so after that.
And the coldest, now if you want sub freezing, I just said probably late May, and that is the case. At Central Park, April 28th in the year 1874. That was before they invented steam engines, I guess. 31 degrees, 1874. And that was the
Yeah.
last time That's the latest that we've ever seen sub-freezing temperatures at Central Park in the calendar year.
All right. You have Briller Jeopardy tonight, don't you?
I do indeed have Burler Jeopardy, and I'm going to pick it up in just a moment.
Okay.
Uh,
And while
it
you're
keeps
picking it
landing.
up, but for those that know, some of you may have been following the markets with what's been going on the last number of days, and no guarantees from the management here, but having watched markets and traded them pretty much not straight through, but for the last 40 years, although I didn't work, I didn't work on the floor, but I've been a market observer. Today kind of felt like a bottom. Now, whether it's a bottom or the bottom, I don't know, but it did kind of look like a bottom today, and maybe we could rally off of this for a couple of days. So we'll see how that goes.
I hope you're right, Joe.
No, it
I,
really did
I,
feel like a bottom today. I think the market's gonna, the
I
market's been,
for
well, it's just all, it looked to me like all it was just totally washed out. There wasn't anything left to sell. They've sold, they sold everything down. So it's due for a bounce for at least maybe a few days. So we'll see where it all takes us. And there you have it. Are you ready?
my 401k was talking to me this morning,
Yes,
and he
it's
said, "I don't
now
know about you, but I feel like a pinata."
yes, it's now a 201k.
Now it is. It's a 201.
It's a
Right.
201k.
All right.
Okay.
This special Briller Jeopardy, just for Joe. Well, maybe not just for Joe, but I mean, it's also for people on the chat board. But Joe, you may have a special interest in this. The category is Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Oh,
Ooh, ooh.
oh,
All right. You ready for question number one?
oh! I'm always ready.
What was Hitchcock's first American film?
Hmm. Oh my, it's a good question. Let's see. I don't. I'm sort of trying to like run the credits through my head. I'm gonna say. I mean, Rebecca was 1940, I believe, and the other two. Well, the other ones I'm thinking of are 39 Steps, and I'll, I'll say Rebecca.
Guess what, Joe? You and Rich Schwartzmansky hit it with Rebecca.
Okay.
Was that
It
Rebecca
was.
of
It was
Sunnybrook Farms?
no,
No,
no, no, no. Rebecca. It's a great movie.
okay.
Joan Fontaine, Laurence Olivier, Gladys Cooper, Nigel Bruce, um, George, George Saunders. It's a very good movie. Oh, and of course Judith Anderson as Mrs. Danvers. You've never seen it?
Nope.
Yeah, it's kind
Never.
of it was best it won Best Picture in 1940, and it's kind of I don't want to even get into the plot, but it's kind of there's a creepiness about it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It's based on Daphne du Bour's book Rebecca.
So for number two, the question is, what movie is about a chance meeting between Bruno Anthony and Guy Haines?
Strangers on a Train.
You got it. If you
Farley
wait at least
Granger.
a second, can you make believe that you're thinking about this rather than just
Farley
boom?
Granger, Ruth Roman, and Robert. Oh God. Why is my brain fading on me? Uh, uh, Robert, his face is right in front of me. He was married to Jennifer Jones. Walker. Robert Walker, I think.
All
Okay.
right. What movie has Mitch Brenner and Melody Daniels
Birds.
running for the birds? All right. You want to give the people on the chat board a
Yeah,
chance?
let's give the people on the chat board a chance.
All right. Number four. What movie is Mark Halliday the cause of trouble? Tyler Fengus says, by the way, Birds is an overrated movie.
Oh,
I got to tell you, when when my son was like 7 years old and my daughter was four, and the Birds was coming on, I told them this is going to be a really scary movie. You're going to have to watch this with mommy and daddy, and if you get scared, you can always jump into our laps because we know you're going to get. They watched it, and it was like, ho hum. Is anything else on?
yeah.
I
Look,
couldn't believe it.
there's a definite there's a definite age thing that happens because the special effects are not what they are today. Okay,
Right.
clearly they're not what they are today. But I would totally disagree with the idea that um, the Birds is a underrated movie. Movie is operating on a bunch of different levels, and some of them are weird. Okay, so you have to watch it. You've got to listen to the dialogue, and you have to really look very deep. It's a very it's more about the relationships between the characters than than the birds themselves. So I would disagree on the fact that it's an underrated movie. Um, that's my opinion.
All right.
And I
So,
also I know the answer to the what was the question with Mark Halliday?
what movie is Mark Halliday the cause of trouble?
Yes,
And we
I
haven't
know
had
the
anybody mention that. You know,
and I don't see
oh, wait
anybody.
a minute. Sammy Presley, you got it, Sammy. Gonna ring you, get a ringy dingy for that one.
Yeah,
Dialing for murder.
ILM for murder. You know, Grace Kelly. And whenever I watch a movie with Grace Kelly in it, I take my phone out and take pictures off the screen. I swear to God, that woman could be dressed in a potato sack and she would look stunning. I mean, she was just gorgeous, just a beautiful. I mean, a beautiful woman, a very good. I mean, a great. She didn't do that many movies, but she was a very, very good actress, and just a stunning on the camera.
Indeed. Last one. Let's go back to Rebecca. How many Academy Awards did that movie win?
Well, it won Best Picture. I know that. Christina Pedia says four, and I'm going to probably go with. I'll go with her with that four.
Apparently, according to Chairman Briller, only two:
Only
Best
two.
Picture, Best Picture, and Best Cinematography.
Yeah.
So there
Oh,
you
and the
go.
other thing about Rebecca is Joe, the 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 house Mandalay, okay, was actually it was a real house, and Hitchcock filmed it on it's in Rye, not too or was in Rye, not too far from Playland. And the house is gone now because they tore it down and they built all sorts of other houses on it. But I mean, this house was like a castle. I mean, it was just amazing, and it was in Rye, New York. And there's some of the ocean shots that they have are actually Long Island Sound. So uh, there's that little tidbit in there. Is there a bonus?
No, there was no bonus.
No
That was
bonus?
that was it.
Oh, okay.
And Christopedia had the same reaction that I had. Art Vandelay?
No, no, Mandalay with an M.
Oh, Mandalay.
Mandalay.
Man, because Vandelay was from
Mandalay
Seinfeld.
was the name of the house. It was the name of the estate, I should say. It was an
Okay.
estate.
I'm going to give Mr. Rotmansky. He says no bell for me. I'm going to give you a bell right now. There you go.
All right. So that was fun.
Yes.
I love Hitchcock. I just, you know, I, I forgot who was the actress that asked him the question. Oh no, it was Ingrid Bergman in Notorious, which is another. That's a great movie with Claude Rains and Cary Grant. Um, Ingrid Bergman said in a tribute that she gave to Hitchcock. Uh, Hitchcock was receiving an award of some sort, and Ingrid Bergman was retelling a story about the one of the scenes. It actually wasn't Notorious. It was the next movie, Spellbound, with Gregory Peck. And she said, "Mr. Hitchcock, I'm just like I'm just not feeling. I don't know what to do. I'm not understanding the character and the premise. You know, um, what's my what should what should I do?" And he said back, "Ingrid, darling, fake it." And one other I don't know, was one other actor said, "What's my motivation?" He said, "Your salary." I just love it.
Is that?
What's that?
I said, is that it?
No, there's one more. In Lifeboat, Tallulah Bankhead, you know Tallulah Bankhead, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, darling. Okay.
Right.
And Tallulah
She had a
Bankhead,
radio show in the 1950s called The Big Show.
right? And she was also the Black Widow on Batman. But Tallulah Bankhead, if you don't know who she is, she was the original party girl in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and she was outrageous, totally outrageous. Uh, she once she once was in the bathroom in a stall in a restaurant, a bathroom stall that there was no toilet paper, and she asked the attendant. She says, "There's no toilet. Is there any toilet paper?" And he said, "No." And she said, "Well, do you have two fives for a 10?" Well, in this particular one, in Lifeboat, when they were filming it, they had to climb up a ladder to get into this tank. The premise of Lifeboat is that the Germans had just sunk a ship, and the survivors were all on this lifeboat, hoping to be rescued, floating in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So when they filmed it, it was filmed in a swimming pool, uh, like a big tank that was above the ground. So you had to climb this ladder. And Tallulah Bankhead, who was just like a totally outrageous woman, wore no underwear. So while she was, they were shooting scenes, and she'd climb up into the tank to get in the tank. She had no underwear. Everybody could see that she had no underwear, and some of the other actors were complaining, and Hitchcock turned to his assistant director and he said, "I don't know if this is a problem for makeup or a hairdresser."
I'm trying to think of the way they said that in that typical
In
Hitchcockian.
their typical Hitchcock way, yes. The man was a genius. I mean, when they feed these stories every once in a while about how he had obsessions for some of his blonde female stars and all. I get it. Um, it's a little, it's a little unseemly, but but as far as the a little weird, but I mean, as far as his movies and his directing ability, the man was just absolute genius, absolute genius. So anyway,
Absolutely.
and there you go. So
So do we still have this schedule change on Wednesday night?
yeah, so Wednesday night, what's happening is we're doing a Weather Legends podcast at 6:30. So we're going to be doing that. So we're going to just slightly delay the Wednesday night show. Instead of starting at 7:30, we're going to start at 8 o'clock. Okay. So that'll give us both a chance to regroup, and we'll be back at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow we're on regular time though, which is at 7:35.
I hope
So
that weather legends thing. I know it has James Spann, but I hope we keep it to or hold it to like a half an hour because I'd like to have some dinner,
No,
6:30 is
no,
my
we have to
dinner.
hold. No, no, we have to hold it. He's only going to be with us for about 15 minutes. So
Okay,
the
that's
show's
good.
going to
So then,
be the show's going to be half an hour. So you'll have plenty of time to have your dinner. That's why we pushed the show back to 8 o'clock, so Joe can have his dinner and do
yeah,
whatever he has to do. So we'll be here at 8 o'clock on Wednesday. We'll have 7:35 for tomorrow night. So thank you to Sammy Presley, Izzy D, Quiet John, Steve Lapointe, Ken Musillo for hitting the tip jar. And we'll see everybody tomorrow night. Bye bye.
good night, folks.